Hey, it's May 1st. This is Neil and Barto. I'm here to solve your problem. The problem is if you put to a Google storage signed URL, you must not set the authorization header, particularly with an authorization that is not for Google Cloud Storage. Otherwise, all sorts of funny things can happen. And so I've highlighted here in the production app where we're seeing the problem. We're putting to a signed URL for Google Cloud Storage, and we're setting the authorization header. By doing that, we failed to see the response headers. Not only that, setting the authorization header in Google Cloud Storage, Google Cloud Shell causes similar problems, and that's one thing the web preview reverse proxy on Cloud Shell does not support is the authorization header, which for some reason I continue to forget and have to relearn, and that's also why I use cookies so much for passing the token around on Cloud Shell, because it doesn't support the authorization header, which is also limiting in that it's very difficult to test an API that uses authorization header using Cloud Shell. So one of those limitations that I've been lamenting for a while, and yet somehow I keep forgetting it exists. So what we can do, I'm going to take the Pico MVP and we're going to call out to the Surfey API to get a token. And so now we've got a token, right? And that's our authorization token. Now if we go to upload a file, what we do is we do a put to the API and we say, well, I want a manual redirect, which means you tell me where this is going to go rather than just go there. And the response is the signed URL. And then we do a put to that URL. And my headers look a little funky because I have header editing on and I don't know how to turn it off. And if you look at the request headers, I'm not setting the authorization header. The only thing you really need is video/MP4 and probably the content link since you're putting, but that'll be automatic based on your library. The refer is completely ignored. The really important thing here is origin. And if that's not set, no core stuff will be set. If you don't set that header, Google Cloud Storage will not respond with these headers, and hence you'll receive these errors down here. So you see how it's saying, there's no cores header. Well, that's because the request didn't specify the origin. Why didn't it specify the origin? Because it specified the authorization header. There's probably some rule in cores there that if you specify the authorization header, that it doesn't specify the origin. In any case, when it does the options and whatnot, those cores headers don't come back. And we can force this to happen in the Pico MVP as well. And you may not have noticed, but when I go to upload the file data, so here's where let me back up one. When I'm getting the upload URL, I'm doing a put to the API server, and I'm putting in this path. Now, what comes back from that is that Google signed URL, right? And then I put to that. And I want you to notice here, though, I didn't pass in my little API filter, which is what inserts things like the authorization header. But let's go ahead and watch what happens when we insert the authorization header. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to refresh, relog in. And we're going to clear all this stuff out so you can watch from top to bottom. And I'm going to upload something else. And boy, our poor Google Cloud Storage is just full of all kinds of fun videos. Oh, see, I'm sitting here like waiting for the problem to happen, and here it is in my face. This is exactly what you're seeing. And if you look at the headers here, the request headers, the big glaring thing here that I was skipping, maybe because it's at the top, I don't know. You just get used to seeing authorization headers. But that's what's being specified. You notice nothing else is going through. Content length, the response headers, there's none coming back in this case because it failed pre-flight. It's just a total cluster. And what's funny is if you try to post with the authorization header to Cloud Shell, it forces you to keep logging in, and I don't think I can force that to happen necessarily. Let's see what happens if I do cookies false. Yeah, that doesn't happen there, but well, let's see. I think when you do a post with the authorization header in Google Cloud Shell with web preview, now that's working too. I don't know. Anyway, when you put in the authorization header, it's got to be for the correct server. That's what's going on here. If it's not, particularly with Google Cloud Storage, your origin header doesn't get set because it's like, I don't know you, security alert, and it's not, and everything's going to fail. So, in summary, just to beat that dead horse, when you're using Google Cloud Storage and signed URLs, remember, the only thing you really need is the origin, the content type, and the content length when you do a put. Everything else, just leave off.